Okay, as I move into using real money, I'm realizing that I can't just trade the way I was trading in the demo account. And I want to go over my five biggest drawdown days so I can really concentrate and meditate on what not to do with my Apex 50K accounts. I cannot have a $2,500 drawdown in one day and then come back and make $100, $200, $500 because I'll blow the account. I cannot have an $800 drawdown in one day. So what happens? Let's take a look at it one by one here. What happened on this particular day? Let's check it out. Well, let's start with April 12th here. What happened on this day that made everything go wrong? It was notorious trade 6. Trade 6. I do my regular scalping. Even in a down market, you can buy long if you know what you're doing. And I knew what I was doing until I got to trade 6. Right here, I suddenly tried to go with 5 micros instead of my regular 1 or 2 micros. And immediately I scalp out like I normally do, but I held the majority instead of scalping the majority. Usually if I'm going to do 3 micros, 5 micros, when it pops, I sell 90% of it and I only keep a little bit. I reversed that. I sold a teeny tiny one and I immediately added it back and it just kept dropping. All right. And then I added too soon, added too large, and eventually hit that $2,500 drawdown in one day down here. And yes, eventually I only lost $300 that day. But if I'm going to be trading my Apex accounts like that, I would have blew it up in one day. I cannot afford to do that in the Apex accounts. So let's take a look at the next one. Now on this day, I made $1,200. Sounds good, doesn't it? Well, not before going down unrealized about $4,000. See, overnight trading is not good for me, especially with the Apex accounts. You cannot do that. You don't know what the market's going to do. And I overnight traded 5 micros down here and I was short. And when the market opened, I added and I was short 10. And I waited a long time, which was good. And I added 10 more and I was short up here and I added 20. No, I added 20 and I was short 30. And it finally went in my favor and it turned out to be a decent day and I made $1,200. However, this spike right here took me to about a negative $4,200 in unrealized losses. And it could have kept going, right? So just bad idea. Overnight trading, do not do the overnight trading. Okay, what else do we have here? Let's take a look at this. Now on 4/30, this was the biggest, most devastating day yet. I had a $12,500 unrealized drawdown, and I ended up only losing $1,000 that day. But what happened? Well, everything's going good, scalping like normal, and then I get over here and I started to experiment. Okay, let's see what happens with 5 micros at a time instead of 1. And it immediately went against me and I added way too soon. I added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times before I could scalp a little bit. And then instead of letting it drop, I immediately add back way too soon. And I scalp over here. And I realized this thing's going to go. So I reversed to go short. Finally got a reverse to go short. And it popped up against me and I shorted maximum 100 micros, which is 10 minis. And it finally went in my favor. And I probably could have actually had a profit that day. But once I got all that back except for $1,000, I figured, you know what? Let's not push our luck. With 20 minutes left in the day, let's just be grateful we didn't lose 12,000 and take $1,000 hit. All right, so that's what happened. What? Experimenting around with 5 micros when I'm not ready for that yet. I cannot do that in the Apex 50K challenge accounts. Okay, I can't do that. All right. When I have $100,000 and I want to play around and get risky, it's my money, then it's different. But I cannot do that with the Apex accounts. So that was the worst day I've ever had right there. All right, so what do we have next? 5-1. What happened here? Well, overnight trading again with 10 micros, right? I'm long, and it drops overnight, and I add 10 more and I scalp all the way up, and that was going good. I made $73 that day, but it was a big, huge drawdown. It was an, what was it, $4,000 drawdown, $3,000 drawdown. Can't do that in the Apex accounts. I just cannot do that. So overnight trading got me again. Now what about this one? All right, so I made $116, but this thing, first, this is like one of those days when you're just cannot read the market. I was going long over here on this side, and I could have broke even after that bounce right there. I could have broke even, but I kept some positioned, and it just went against me. And finally, I realized, let's go short. And I shorted this last bit into support, and it worked. I got that final short, but then it bounced. And since I had switched positions, I was in the short side now instead of the long side, and I was fighting my long, trying to short this long all the way up. I was short this whole time, and I could have broke even over here. I could have broke even here, and I could have broke even here. All right. When I tried to go long, it dipped. I added, and it bounced up. I profited. I actually was profitable, like $73, and I could have just closed my position right there. That's what it was. And I could have reassessed. And, I don't have a problem really. If I didn't reverse my position, it would have worked out really well to come back up, come to think of it. But just being wrong in both directions, that's a rare thing, but it does happen. But if I would have just held on, I wasn't adding too big. I don't think I was adding too big. I had one, I added one, and it was long 2. I added one and long 3, and I scalped. Added one, long 3, scalped. And I could have really just paused my adding instead of reversing here and just let this thing bounce back up, and I would have been fine. And I would have stayed long. So that was just I was not reading the market at all that day. And that's what can happen. So what's the biggest problem that I'm having? Number one, overnight trading. Don't do it. In this Apex 50K challenge, I cannot do overnight trading. Number two, don't do more than 1 to 3 contracts in the overnight, with the Apex 50K challenge, because I can handle and manage that. If price goes against me when I'm holding 1 or 2 micros, that's definitely manageable. Anything over 3, I'm going to need to break even as fast as possible. If I do 3 to 5 micros, I better understand that I need to close this trade for a very small loss and reassess, or just call it a break-even day. Because in the Apex 50K challenge, it will eat your drawdown quickly. You only have $2,500 for the entire challenge, and you can blow that in one day if you get too big a position and you don't know how to break even and get out of the trade if it goes against you. So I want to make sure I make this video to understand, drill this in my head, because I'm switching from demo to real money. And when I get to 50,000 on my demo, I'm going to stop using that demo. I have to stop using the demo. It is not good for my mind and my habits and my trading psychology. I've got to transition into real money, and I got to understand what was the major problems that caused me to have these large drawdowns, and don't do that kind of trading. All right, so we'll see you on the next video. I hope this helps me understand so that I can break those old habits. Now, if I can take base hits, small hits, reasonable wins without oversizing, trading overnight, adding too big, too fast, holding too long in the wrong direction, I will be okay. Here's what happened in April. I only traded these 6 days in April, 6 winning days in April. And so far in May, I just traded these 2 days right here. And overall, we have a pretty good looking equity curve right now. It's not going up very fast, $175 with those days. And I'm being careful. Having the mentality of being careful. And it's real interesting that at any moment you can be thrown off guard and forget. So the demo account, trading that all the time keeps me in this reckless, wild, nonchalant attitude. And I know that I can play around and not lose real money, and it's got you in a really irresponsible trading mentality. So I just want to make this video to understand what I'm going to have to be like in order to make it. So if I keep taking small base hits and wins, and I avoid all those mistakes, I should be able to pass that account challenge and then begin to get payouts, hopefully. Lord willing. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.